the one, the only, Aditi Kinkhabwala. What's up, Aditi?
Aditi, I got to start with a very hard question. We have no time for pleasantries right now. We love you. It's good to have you here. But I have a very serious question, very serious. And you're going to think I'm joking, but I'm not. It's a tough one. Today, you have to make a decision. Who would you rather have as your quarterback going forward? Lamar Jackson or Deshaun Watson? You got to make that decision today.
Why? Am I starting a team?
You broke up for a second. Did you say
why?
Why do I have
starting
to?
A team?
You're starting a team. Yes, those are your two choices. Lamar, forget the off the field stuff. Just on the field. Just on the field. Who are you taking? Ooh. It's a tough one.
Oh, boy.
Nobody's going to be mad at you if you say Lamar.
I could argue both. I could argue both.
You got to break the tie.
I could argue both, and I think it's what? Say it again.
Break the tie. I'm putting you in a tough spot here. No fence riders.
She's so mad at you right now, Bull.
I know. Well, you know what the problem? It's like you're thinking live on television, and I feel as if I should talk aloud so everybody knows what's going on in the brain right now.
Talk it out.
I think that. Okay, so Lamar is a completely dynamic unicorn. He is one of one. He can do things that nobody else can do, and that presents a challenge in and of itself. But in order for him to do the things that nobody else can do, plus do the things that other people at the position can do, you need a certain line in front of him. You need certain playmakers around him. And most importantly, you need a certain staff around him. And this is the key. It's funny because we've been talking about this all week long, and I'm hoping we all get to talk about it. You need a staff. Deshaun, I feel like you just don't need as many complementary pieces to get that magic. So maybe the payoff of Lamar is greater if all these other things come in play. And maybe Deshaun is just a little bit safer because you don't necessarily need all these other things to get to that greatness.
So you're going with
But
Deshaun.
I don't know.
You going with Deshaun? 51,
I mean, it's
49?
so hard to do that.
I think it's more like 50.1.
We're talking about yeah, exactly. 50.1, 49.9.
It's a tough call.
It's a great question,
What's breaking
Bull.
the tie? What's the vote right now?
We need a recount.
Well, yeah, what's the vote right now?
We haven't even talked about it. I was just thinking about it. I think maybe we'll talk about it on
It's
tomorrow's
actually
show.
the lead topic of tomorrow's show.
There you go. But because I think it's fascinating. I bet you. I think if you ask people nationally, I think Lamar Jackson would win that vote. Not by a lot, but I think he'd win. I think before last week he would have won by more. And if Deshaun Watson starts, it's a big if because he hasn't proven it yet. But if he continuously plays well now going forward, it will swing to the point where eventually Watson will pass him again. For me, I
think that's fair. I think that's why it's so hard to make these pronouncements.
Yep.
And this is what you keep saying. It's such a small sample size right now. We're so earlier in the season, and there's so many questions. Can Lamar stay healthy? Will Todd Monken indeed be the right fit offensively for him? Deshaun finally shaken off the rust of 2 years. Is Deshaun settling into what he really wants to run? And again, I mean, so my crew this week is on the Steelers-Texans. I'm not with them because of the way that CBS has set up the season. But we've spent all week talking, and we've talked a lot about the Steelers and their coaching staff. And I have so many thoughts on the Steelers' offensive coaching staff. And literally just earlier today, I made this point that the Steelers are playing the Texans. The Texans have a young quarterback. Who do they get to lead and mold and help grow and develop that young quarterback? Bobby Slowick. Bobby Slowick was on that Mike Shanahan staff back in Washington, the staff that produced Kyle Shanahan, Matt LaFleur, Sean McVay, Mike McDaniel, Bobby Slowick. We're all on that staff. They all learned offense. They learned how to teach offense. They learned how to grow and develop quarterbacks under Mike Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan, look at what he's done with Brock Purdy. Mike McDaniel, look at what he's done with Tua Tagovailoa. I can keep going, okay? Matt LaFleur, what he's doing right now with Jordan Love. Sean McVay took Jared Goff to a Super Bowl and then obviously won one with Matt Stafford. He had more to work with, but still, all of that, okay? Then, meanwhile, who do the Steelers have growing and developing their young quarterback?
Yeah.
A guy named Matt Canada, who before he was hired spent 2 years on the couch. And before those 2 years on the couch, spent the previous 8 years in 6 different jobs. 5 of them that lasted exactly for 1 year. All in college.
Yeah.
So Matt Canada, in an 8-year span, was in college, had 6 jobs in those 8 years. 5 of those 6 jobs were 1 year. They were all lateral moves, offensive coordinator and quarterback. That's what he coached in college. Then he sat on his couch for 2 years. Then Mike Tomlin brought him in, and that's what they're entrusting Kenny Pickett's future to.
And Aditi,
is Matt Canada.
What's mind-blowing to me is that we had this conversation both on the show and then later that day in a text chain between you and I. I had said it seems like the Pittsburgh fan base, which that doesn't precipitate making moves, but a lot of folks in the media, people in general, are looking at this saying he's not working as the offensive coordinator. That he was in the barn after last season. And I asked you then, why in the world did the Pittsburgh Steelers, an organization known for pulling the right levers, why did they bring him back? And your answer to me was that the Rooneys don't like paying coaches that aren't working for them. In the grand scheme of things, to write a check for whatever his salary would be so they could move on from what looks to be a mistake and try to get the right person in here in the offseason and put in a new offense that can be complementary to what they have on the defensive side of the ball, when Jimmy Haslam was at once upon a time paying coaches that were no longer on his staff, head coaches, $49 million combined. It just is a mind-blowing statement to me that the Rooneys wouldn't just fix what was broken in the offseason and try to make it better this year.
But you know what, Jay, this is a greater statement. We heard Kevin Stefanski say so much this offseason, how happy he was with his staff, how much of the staff was intact, and the addition of Jim Shorts, right? Let's just call it what it is. No offense to Joe Woods, no offense to Mike Prefer, but Bubba Ventrone and Jim Shorts, they felt they were making upgrades at positions where they were certainly happy with who they had, but they were making upgrades. And you see the impact that Jim Shorts has had. But you see who Kevin Stefanski is bringing around his players. Part of hiring Bubba Ventrone as the special teams coordinator, it was getting someone who was younger and energetic and more able to explain to young guys that had never played special teams before why vital and important that was, how he was able to reach them. Jim Shorts, how he was able to motivate these guys. You look at even Deshaun Watson. We're looking at Zach Taylor right there. Zach Taylor's had the same staff year after year after year. That continuity counts for something, but it's also who are you putting on that staff? How important are those people? You know, Kevin Stefanski chooses Alex Van Pelt, who was Aaron Rodgers' quarterback coach forever, a guy that played in the league forever. There's credibility to that. Those are all great staffs, okay? So it's not just about continuity, but it's like, not creating change just for the sake of change, but making change when you think you can improve. Mike Tomlin has coached for 17 years. Mike Tomlin has coached for 17 years.
I get
it. In 17 years, he's had exactly one assistant coach go on to be a head coach. The guy he fired, Bruce Arians. He has never.
His tree isn't bearing fruit.
Talk about coaching trees, okay? We talk about Andy Reid's coaching tree. We talk about what was Ray Rhodes' staff in Philadelphia all those years ago.
Look
we
at
talked
Tony
about that with
Dungy's,
Sean Payton,
which produced Tomlin.
Yeah. We talk
Even
about
Sean
trees.
McVay's.
Mike Tomlin has never, ever, ever, ever had an assistant, a position coach, go on to be a coordinator. Wow. He has never had a coordinator go on to be a head coach.
That is mind-boggling.
I would argue that one of his forget it, after Bruce Arians, the most successful offensive coordinator he's had is Todd Haley, who the Rooneys forced him to hire.
Wow.
I mean, so you think about it's about the development. It's the growth and development of your players. And that is a key piece of all of this, of all of these teams that we're looking at all of these players. And so, like, when you sit here and you ask me about Lamar Jackson, I'm bringing it all back. John Harbaugh has made a change, right? John Harbaugh in 2012, Cam Cameron is someone he had a great relationship with. Cam Cameron was his offensive coordinator. He thought that Joe Flacco was responding better, would respond better to Jim Caldwell, the quarterback's coach. He makes a change in the middle of the season. He fires his friend, Cam Cameron. He elevates Jim Caldwell. The Ravens go on and win a Super Bowl. Fast forward some time, and he's got co-offensive coordinators. Then all of a sudden, Joe Flacco's back falls out on him, whatever, breaks down on him. Lamar Jackson comes in. Greg Roman takes up more of the play calling offensive design. And the next year, Greg Roman becomes the single offensive coordinator because he's the best match for Lamar Jackson. John Harbaugh likes Greg Roman. Greg Roman is a very, very likable person, but that offense hit its ceiling. So John Harbaugh said, okay, as much as I may personally like someone, I need to move on. And he makes a very calculated decision not to just get someone from the Kyle Shanahan, Mike Shanahan, Sean McVay, that whole tree. He says, you know what, I've got a quarterback that's not necessarily a system guy, so I need a guy who can run a variety of different things, and that's how he goes and he finds Todd Monken. Let's bring it to the Browns. Kevin Stefanski, as a play caller, loves to say, my favorite play is the quarterback's favorite play. I want to run the plays the quarterback wants to run. That's all good coaching to me. That's all, okay, let's take advantage of what our guys do. Let's surround them with people that are going to get the best out of them, and let's speak to their souls, essentially. It's hard right now because we don't know how the Todd Monken, Lamar Jackson thing is going to work out. We clearly are starting to see how the Deshaun Watson, Kevin Stefanski thing is working. You have to give it time. I'm talking about a variety of different things. Can someone interrupt me at this point? I just feel like I went on 18 days.
You're filibustering right now.
Yeah, that was a great. You could be a senator. The senator.
No, Aditi gives her time back.
Yeah. I yield my time to the great gentleman from Ohio. Now, Aditi, I'm gonna ask you about. You talked about the quarterback Deshaun Watson, and it's the first time I've seen. It was big for me after he throws that touchdown pass to Amari Cooper. You see Kevin Stefanski, and he runs up, and I almost called him Lamar. Deshaun Watson could have celebrated with anybody. Could have celebrated with all the guys on the sideline, but he chose to go up and chest bump Kevin Stefanski. To me, that was big because I looked at Kevin Stefanski's face, and it looked like the first time he was emotionally invested in a quarterback. And he was genuinely excited, like, I found my match. What are your thoughts about that?
I just think that's because he's got a great poker face, and I just think that he's very good at not publicly showing emotion, but I feel extremely confident saying that he feels very strongly about Deshaun, that he loves working with Deshaun. He called Deshaun a gym rat to us. He said that the conversations that they have, the back and forth that they have, all of that, that Kevin Stefanski does indeed have a tremendous relationship with his quarterback. And I think the excitement is finally seeing the payoff that they've been working so hard towards. And it's having patience in each other to some degree. And we've had to have that.
Aditi, yesterday there was a rumor about Devontae Adams maybe being traded. The Browns were mentioned as a team. On this show, we've talked about the possibility of the Browns trading for Jonathan Taylor. We know that the Browns are going to be looking at cap hell at some point next 2, 3, 4 years, however many years they decide to continue to kick the can down the road, right? Do you see any scenario where the Browns, who have been aggressive, go out and get a front-line player because they think, hey, we got to go all in this year? No? You're shaking your head?
I don't see either. First of all, I think they love their wide receiver room, okay? They love Amari Cooper. They love Elijah Moore. They love the young Cedric Tillman. They love DPJ. They love David Njoku as a pass catcher. They feel, they're great there. Why go and bring on an extra big contract and another mouth that you potentially have to feed?
Aditi, all those guys are just guys outside of Amari Cooper, no?
No, I don't think so.
Well, who's not just a guy?
I think Tillman's got a ton of potential. I think Njoku has a ton of. Njoku should be a frontline tight end.
But he's been in the
We
league
gotta
6
stop
years.
with
He's
that,
never
though.
done it.
Elijah Moore is way better than you're giving him credit for.
What's he
Remember
done?
me saying this right now.
He ain't
We'll
done
come
anything.
back. We're 3 games into the season.
But it's his third year in the league. I'm just saying he's unproven. He's unproven. He's never proven.
Who has he been playing with? Who has he been playing with in New Jersey?
I mean Garrett Wilson had 1,000.
This big long rant. I gave you a big long rant about coaching and offensive design.
But wait a second.
The poor guy was stuck with Kyle Wilson and Mike LaFleur.
Wait a second.
Give him a
Aditi,
chance here.
You know, first of all, I am giving him a chance. I'm just saying he's unproven. We don't know that he's better than a guy. And Garrett Wilson had 1,000 yards.
He's
with
unproven
no
until he does it. But I'm telling you, you know what? Again, my feeling on this is that the Browns are extremely happy with their wide receiver room.
All right.
That they can run the ball well. They like Jerome Ford. They're bullish on Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford is cheap. Jonathan Taylor won't come cheap. And I don't think that the Browns believe that Jonathan Taylor changes their offense in such a significant way. I mean, heck, if anything, Deshaun Watson's biggest plays in Houston came when he didn't have a great run game.
That's fair.
We saw this past week when Deshaun Watson had to carry this team when it was finally okay. The offense is not running through 2-4. The offense is running through me. Yeah. Deshaun Watson gave the Browns the best game that he's had so far in that uniform.
I think everything you say is fair, but it is fair to say at this point in their careers, David Njoku and Elijah Moore have never shown they're better than average. Isn't that fair to this point? I'm not saying they might not at some point, but to this point.
But Bull, it is fair because it's true.
Right? I mean, what have they done?
Okay, so here's their opportunity, right? Here's their chance. Everything is aligned.
I'll give you that on Moore, but Njoku is probably closer to the end of his career than the beginning of his career at this point in terms of years in the league. And he's paid like a top 3 tight end. He's never produced anywhere near that. And I'll hear potential on Tillman. I'll even hear potential on Moore.
Yeah, sure.
But you can't carry the word potential over into season 7 and still think that you're going to get dramatically different results.
I think that's very, very fair. What I can tell you is that the Browns believe that their offense runs through Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, and David Njoku.
And we'll find out at the end of the year if their belief was
if they believe,
well-founded.
that's all that matters.
No,
if the Browns believe, and
that's
all that matters.
Aditi touched on this, but just the economics of it,
you
can't do it. You can't, first of all, what capital do you have to give to Indianapolis for Taylor or to get Devontae
I'm not
Adams?
saying I don't think they're making any of those moves. I'm just
I know, but I don't even think it's
could always find
to talk
capital,
about it because would they like to have it? Yeah, I'd like to have a space shuttle, but I don't. And the reason I don't is because I can't afford one.
Well, the Browns can afford both.
Jay, you know what's so funny? My son keeps asking me to buy a Lamborghini. I don't know what planet.
A Lamborghini?
So I keep saying to him, I'm like, well, where would I put a car seat in a Lamborghini? And he says to me, I don't need one anymore. And I say, well, what about your sister? And he's like, well, we could just leave her at home.
Oh, man, I'm telling you, just another reason I love your son already.
Get the Lambo. Funny. Get the Lambo.
All right, are you getting the Lambo? Has he talked you into it?
Steve Becker would have to pay me a lot more than what I'm making now to get a Lambo.
No.
All right, Aditi, have a great call on Sunday, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.